Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm not too sure if anyone can hear me. If you can, we do have a comments function on the right-hand side. If you want to go ahead and just share a comment, let me know that you can hear me and I am loud and clear. For those of you that have just joined us, my name is Ryan Williams, and I'm one of the founders behind Resonance Research. We are developers of information-coded biofeedback mobile applications. And today what we're going to be doing is going through a training on the Resonance Pro. For those of you that are familiar with our technology, we have three different mobile applications. The first mobile application is the Resonance Go, which is a relatively simple, easy to use program that's designed for home use, designed for clinicians who have an active practice base, or for those people that actually want to build a clientele. Very simple program. It allows you to basically send digital frequencies or energy balancing frequencies to your client anywhere in the world. It's part of our focus with the telemedicine, and that is the Resonance Go. Then we have the Resonance Home, which is a program, very simple, very easy to use, designed for practitioners or designed for home and health and wellness speakers. The idea behind the Resonance Home is that it activates, it does the analysis, the voice analysis, and then it gives you a preset series of different playlists that you can go ahead and activate, and you can listen to those tones. Now, those tones will last anywhere from 5 minutes, even going up to about 45 minutes. So that is how the Resonance Home works. And then what we're going to be focusing on today will be the Resonance Pro, and that is our flagship mobile application. It is a very complex application, and hopefully by the end of today, I'll go through some points and some tips and uses in terms of how you actually use the mobile application, and essentially some of the features and some of the benefits. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and see if I can share my screen. We should be able to do that. Bear with me while I go through some of the settings. And here we can see that the Resonance Pro is now visible. This is my mobile device, as you can see. And on the bottom right-hand corner, we have the Resonance Pro installed. I'm going to go ahead and launch the Resonance Pro. So once you have it installed, you'll get to your first page here, which is basically your client records page. So in terms of your user records, we have everything saved to our encrypted server, which means that you will never lose your database or your client files. If you lose your device, or if you need to get a new device, you just go ahead and contact us, and we activate your login on a new device, and then you go ahead and you proceed to download your database. So in order to begin a new session, you always click on the Begin New Scan. Now, what happens during this analysis is that we basically are clearing the sort of past energetic imprint of any client that you've been consulting with before. So in the same manner, if you look at Reiki healing or anything along those lines, there's always a kind of past sort of residue, which is, which is associated between each and every client. And in the same manner, within your hardware, within your mobile application, or within computerized technology, you still have that type of essence of that client, the kind of consciousness which is loaded in the RAM of that device. So what we like to do is we go ahead and we click on the Begin a New Scan, And that just sort of clears the last client from your cache file. So now we have a kind of fresh slate, and we can go ahead and then begin with adding a new client. If you need to access any past client records, on the top here, we've got your past client records. And as you can see, we have your past client records here. You can always go ahead and load a past client and just click on Start New Analysis, and you can begin. But I'm just going to go ahead and start with a new client. So today what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and load a client. Go ahead and click Done, select the agenda, and we're going to click Next. The next we come to your wellness markers. So these are your identifying wellness markers. Now, this is just to help you get sort of a clinical context of your client. In other words, why are you coming for a session today? It just helps with the sort of first-time intake form. These results, or whatever you select here, it does not impact the results in any way whatsoever. It is really just designed as an intake form to help you glean some important information about your client and why they are actually coming to you for a session. So in the identifying wellness markers, you can always go ahead and you can enter in the information. So anything that your client is suffering from or any symptomology. And then you can go ahead and you can activate any of these specific items. So again, it's just part of the intake form, help you gain an understanding about your client's current state of health. We go ahead and click on Begin. Next, we get to the vocal profiling. So the way the Resonance Pro works is that we record your voice because obviously the analysis is essentially done through the voice. So once we capture your voice, we then go ahead and we run it through an algorithm called a Fast-Fourier algorithm. And in doing that, what it does, it basically takes your complex voice pattern and it simplifies it down into a real simple frequency. Once we have that real simple frequency, after the FFT algorithms have been applied, we then go ahead and compare that voice wave pattern against our built-in database of thousands and thousands of different energetic signatures. And then what we are doing when we are comparing the voice against our database, we're looking at kind of deviations away from the norm. So in other words, a very high reaction or a very low reaction. And those are the items that we want to focus on. So in other words, why has this client reacted to these items that are high versus why have they reacted to the items that are low? So in order to activate this, I'm going to go ahead and click on Record. During the recording, it's a 15-second process. You repeat the vowels A, E, I, O, U. Repeat those slowly. And then if there's anything that your client would like to focus on during this session as well. It's important that they speak for the full 15 seconds because we need that amount of data. And then the results, you can see these are the dominant voice frequencies, otherwise known as voice formants. So once we've completed this recording, we've now captured the voice. We now want to go ahead and listen to the harmonics. The harmonics are very similar to a homeopathic, a sort of digital homeopathic, where what we're doing is we're actually feeding the dominant frequencies of the voice back into the body. And in doing that, it just kind of, it opens up the channels within the body, the kind of energetic channels, and improves your chi, it improves your energy flow. And typically in doing the voice harmonics, the end result is that the frequencies are much more accepted into the body. There's less kind of resistance within the body. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the voice harmonics. And you may not be able to hear them just for the simple reason of this online demonstration, but essentially it is now playing the voice harmonics. And then I'm going to go ahead and click on next. Now we actually are analyzing the voice. Voice algorithms are complete. Let's go ahead and click on continue. Next, we have the image upload. Here you can either load an existing image from your camera roll, or you can take a new picture. I'm just going to go ahead and load an existing photograph, if I can find one. I'll go ahead and take that. And then we're going to go ahead and click on begin analysis, and here we are scanning. Go ahead and click on continue. And next we get to the system overview page. Now this is where all the kind of magic actually begins. So once we're at this page, we're going to go ahead and click on the begin analysis, which is the button down on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and click on the analysis. What we are doing now is that this is where the actual scanning is, the scanning begins. We're now comparing that original voice file against a database of thousands and thousands of different energetic signatures. And as you can see, we have a built-in kind of pop-up instructional dialog box. It's telling you to have a look at the items that are both high as well as the items that are both low. Once you've identified these items, you can drag them to one of the balancing trays. So if we have a look at this page over here, we'll see, first of all, we've broken down the results into your biofield, into your body, and then into your mind. Beneath the biofield, we have the respective panels, the spiritual protection, sacred geometry, chakra, your aura, Nogier frequencies, your meridians, your solfeggio tones. And as you can see, we have a scaling system. The results are obviously the items in the red are the items that we should pay attention to, and then the items that are blue as well. The scaling is based on a scale from 0 to 777. So obviously the high numbers we need to look at and try to understand, why the client is reacting to these high numbers. If I go ahead and click, go down to body, you'll see the highest item is today's stress, going all the way down to the lowest items, which is the digestion. But as you can see, the digestion is not in blue, so that's nothing to be too concerned about at the moment. Next is your brainwave EEG functioning, 751, that is your item in red. And then obviously we can scroll down to the brain anatomy as well. So having a quick little snapshot here, what this is telling me is that within the biofield, in other words, this is the kind of sort of energy field of this client, I should be paying attention to the aura, the chakra, sacred geometry, and then spiritual protection as well. And I should look at applying the solfeggio tones. So a lot of these, you can't really form much of a kind of an assessment or an analysis about your client. As an example, if we drill down deeper into the sacred geometry, this is basically telling us the specific sacred geometrical shapes that the client would benefit from. Now, for those of you that are familiar with sacred geometry, I don't need to explain too much, but within sacred geometry, within nature, we find forms of sacred geometry everywhere. And the theory behind sacred geometry, it helps us connect to a sort of higher consciousness. It helps us connect to the collective, to the sort of collective consciousness, as well as to the universe. So what this is telling me is that I should be playing the tones for the platonic solids and perfect right triangles for this client. And again, this is not a form of assessment, but this is just telling me that these items are high, they're high for a reason, and I want to go ahead and actually balance these items to help the client improve their energy flow and their chi. If we scroll down, we can have a look at your chakras. We can see which chakras are blocked. As you can see, the highest is the throat chakra and the crown chakra. And then down, we've got the brow and then the root chakra as well. What is important when actually looking at these results is to always bear in mind the clinical context of the client. In other words, these results, you need to equate them back to why your client is actually coming to you. You need this, there's no 100% perfect technology. The Resonance Pro is going to throw up some false positives, and that is where you, as a Resonance Pro user, needs to look at this information and relate it back to the clinical context of your client. So in this instance, what I'm going to do is just, we have two different balancing options. In the top, you'll see we've actually got three different balancing options. We've got your daily balancing tray, which is designed for balancing items in the moment that you've identified together with your client that you want to balance in that moment. We then have a main hole tray, which is down on the bottom, and then we have a quick balance. The quick balance is a really, really unique feature, really quick and easy. You get to any specific page, and by selecting the quick balance, what it automatically does, it balances both the high as well as the low items. So in other words, if I go ahead and click on the quick balance here, it's going to balance all the items that are visible in red, and then all the items that are visible in blue. So the brow chakra, the root chakra, the aura, solfeggio tones, today's stress, etc. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and adjust this down to, let's say, 1 minute. We can get it there. And we've now specified that we are going to be balancing those specific items, the high and low, via the quick balance for a period of 1 minute. So I'm going to go ahead and activate this. Now, when you are playing the frequencies, you will hear the frequencies. Some of them may be chimes, some of them may be bells, some of them may sound different. These frequencies that we are using are very, very, very unique and very different that you may hear with your typical tone generators. First and foremost, we use a multi-tone generator. In other words, we have many different frequencies that we are able to run at the same time. So in other words, if you look at, for example, today's stress, within our database, we've got anywhere from 8 to 16 different frequencies. By frequencies, I mean 258 hertz, 6,325 hertz. We have all these different frequencies. Now we've gone one step further, and each frequency we have broken up into further 7 different amplitudes. So in other words, each frequency we have now broken up into 7 different pitches or 7 different amplitudes. So the frequencies that you are hearing are really, really complex type of frequencies and very unique to the Resonance Pro. Each time you've conducted a balancing, on the bottom, it'll give you a overall percentage rectification. Now, this is a statistical probability providing you insight in terms of how effective that percent rectification was. So in other words, each time we're running a balancing, we want to try and get an idea in terms of, how effective was that balancing. Now, because we're not doing another voice recording, we can't actually do a sort of before and after analysis, but certainly what we can do is we can use a statistical probability theory based upon the frequencies, the voice of your client, as well as the time duration as well. And then we provide you an estimation, which is your overall percent rectification. My personal sense is that if you get anything from a 20 to 30% rectification, you've done good. The reason why I share that is the body is naturally lazy, and it'll always try to go back to its original state of rest. So if you are trying to force the body to get a very high percent rectification, you may achieve this during your session. However, the only drawback with that is that once your client actually leaves, there's a strong chance that the body will go back to its original state of rest. It's almost like the homeopathic principle of where you apply more of less and sort of less of more. So in other words, to me, if you get a 15 or 25% rectification, that is a good sign. You can actually move on. We do want to get high percent rectifications, but certainly bear that in mind. You don't want to be kind of forcing the body to try to get a high percent rectification when perhaps the body is not actually ready for that. So that is the percent rectifications down on the bottom. As you can see, it's in the black, where we show harmony, alignment, energy flow, and then your overall percent rectification. So another option is the actual daily balancing tray that I alluded to. So as an example, if we have a look at spiritual protection, I'm going to go ahead and drag 2 of these. And then some other items into the tray. And if I click on the drop down, you'll see that we've now added these items into the daily balancing tray. I'm going to go ahead and adjust this timer down to 1 minute with a bit of luck. I'm going to go ahead and click start. So just a quick reminder, we have 3 different balancing options. We have the daily balancing tray, which is on the top. We then have the main whole tray, which is on the bottom. And then we have the quick balance, which is that teal slider on the right-hand side. 3 different balancing options. They all perform types of different functions. The daily balancing tray, typically what we want to do with this on the top is once we've identified specific items of significance, items of probability that both you and your client can relate to, that we want to balance in the moment, we would drag those items into the daily balancing tray. The other option with the quick balance is that it automatically balances all the highs and all the low numbers immediately. It's a real quick option, super helpful. A lot of our users use that as an alternative. The main whole tray down on the bottom is really the type of tray where you're using to gather information throughout your entire session. So as you're identifying items which both you and your client can actually resonate with, what you would do, you'd go ahead and drag all of those items into the main whole tray. And then at the end of the session, right at the end of the session, you would balance the items in the main whole tray. So it's almost like the daily balancing tray on the top are designed for items to balance in the now, in the moment that you've identified. The main whole tray is the kind of, I like to call it the Sherlock Holmes investigator tray, where as you are navigating through the program, you are finding items of significance that are forming part of the global picture of your client's current state of health. And then once we've got all of those items in the main whole tray, we then go ahead and we end our session off with a balancing of that main whole tray. So just a gentle reminder, if we have a look at down here on the percent rectification, okay, we've got an 80% rectification. So to put this into context, I dragged 5 items into the daily balancing tray. I did 1 minute balancing and I got a very high percent rectification. So what is that telling me? Well, it's telling me that, quite frankly, I don't really know what I'm doing because I'm getting a very high percent rectification after 1 minute. So typically what that could be indicating is that these items have very little significance to the client because the percent rectification is going so high so quickly. When you have a low percent rectification, it typically means like your body is kind of absorbing that energy and it's creating more sort of resistance in the body. And by creating more resistance, that percent rectification will be low. When there's no resistance, the frequencies are literally just passing through the body unabated, which means I'm not really, my conscious is, or my subconscious is not really identifying with those frequencies and saying, hey, I need more of these, I need more of these, I need more of these. So, certainly that percent rectification does give you a quick little insight into, the items that you have selected. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this tray over here. Maybe I'm just going to go ahead and actually remove all of these items anyways. I'm going to go ahead and close this tray. So the next thing that we could do is, let's say we want to drill down deeper into certain items. So in other words, while you are consulting with your client or yourself, even if you are using this for your own benefit, let's say it's identified today's stress. So I want to drill down deeper and see what's going on within today's stress panel. So today's stress panel, it gives you indications in terms of your stresses for the day. They will change each and every day. But the idea behind the actual stress panel is to help you identify the types of stresses that you are going through today. So we've got three items here: degeneration, hormonal, and then connective tissue as well. So based again on my clinical context with my client, he's a young 19-year-old boy. He has sports injuries, does a lot of exercise. So looking at these three here, I think hormonal is maybe it's something I could investigate further. Maybe degeneration or possibly connective tissues. That's something that I think would be beneficial to the client. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring this down to the bring it down to the main hold tray. Let me just get this tray up first. I guess I should share that with you as well. So, another option, we have various sub panels that you can actually drill down deeper. So let's say I just want to identify my today's stress panel. Go ahead and click on, for example, one of the sub items. And then what this does, it basically opens up a sub panel. So the sub panel is essentially a breakdown of the items for today's stress. So I'm going to take my connective tissue. I'm going to drag down my connective tissue. And as you can see, I've now got my connective tissue loaded into this main hold tray. As a reminder, the main hold tray is like your investigator tray, where as you identify items of significance, you want to bring those down into the tray for balancing right at the end of the session. But right now, I want to drill down deeper into the connective tissue. And that's where we access the entangled insights. And the way to do that is just to simply click on the connective tissue, and then this will open up the entangled insights. So as the messaging says, you can compare a selected item against a separate database of thousands of substances to gain deeper insights into your client's current state of health. So basically what I'm doing here is I've now loaded connective tissue. Now, what I want to do is I now want to compare the frequency of connective tissue against a separate database of individual items which may be specific to my client. This is the entangled insights. It really helps you to sort of narrow in or to window in and to find specific items of significance or items of resonance with that connective tissue. So I'm just going to load the entire database here. And as you can see, we've now got a separate database of all these different items that we have now loaded. I'm going to go ahead and click on check. What we are doing during this process, during this testing process, is we are now comparing all of these different frequencies ranging from herbs to viruses to homeopathics to Bach flower remedies to anything and everything under the sun. And we are looking for a relationship or a probability or a coherence to try to identify which items may be causing the connective tissue. So as you can see, we have a high reaction or a high probability. Typically, the high numbers are the items that you want to focus on. So we can scroll through these items and identify items of concern, items of significance that I think are forming part of the connective tissue. And again, it's really important to understand when using this program, when you are looking at the results, here we are looking at the entangled insights results. Just because it's a high number does not mean it's significant for your client. You need to look at these high numbers and always relate it to the clinical context of your client. So I'm just going to go through a few of these and identify some ones that I may want to bring into the main hold tray. As you can see, pain relief as well. So if we have a look at this main hold tray, you'll see I'm now beginning to build a kind of global picture about my client's current state of health. I'm trying to find all the items that are related, that I can form a picture in terms of my client. And right now what we're doing, we know that he came to us with sports injuries. We're having a look at the connective tissue. We are then identifying items that could be related or could be contributing to the connective tissue imbalance. Those items we bring down into the main hold tray. So I'm going to go ahead and click back, and I'm going to click back again, and we are back to the system overview page. I'm going to scroll down a bit further and see if there's anything else that I want to look at. Okay, liver is really low. So I'm just going to scroll down and have a look at the liver. And I'm going to maybe look at the liver, and I'm going to compare the liver against maybe some emotional issues. So what we're doing now with the entangled insights, we've identified that liver is a probable disturbance, and we are now putting liver into the tray, and we are comparing liver against all of our different emotions, and we're going to try to see if there's maybe a correlation. Okay, so we can have, again, we look at the highest items, typically in the 90s. So I've sensed we have an issue with some anxiety there, and we could even go down to the 80s as well. I think he's got some of that as well. So what's important is to always bring the liver into the main hold tray as well. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and bring some pathogens down as well. So that's your first path of investigation that you can do. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is that we have a navigation in the top right-hand corner. Within the navigation, you have a detailed reporting function. Okay, this report will give you a breakdown of your today's stresses. So in other words, any panel that you have actually gone into, for example, we went into today's stress, it'll pull up today's stress. If you don't go into all the different panels, it will not pull up those specific panels on your report. Otherwise, it'll just plain and simple be too long. If you want to drill down deeper, for example, on your today's stress, go ahead and click on all, and as you can see, it gives you a complete breakdown here of your reporting function. I do not advocate that you send this report to your client. It is a very complex report, and unless you are trained in the use and understanding of the actual Resonance Pro, these results will not really make much sense to you. So printing out a report like this and giving it to your client, unless they really understand how to correlate that data based on what the Resonance Pro was telling them, it's not something that I would certainly advocate. So I'm going to just go ahead and click on back. We're going to go back to the navigation. We have specific biomarkers here. Now, what your biomarker does during the session is that each and every time you complete your session, it basically will track your progress. So over a period of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different sessions, you will be able to track the progress of your client. You will be able to see whether the percent rectifications are improving or whether they're going down, and that will help you kind of adjust your sort of session. Because ideally, you know, we want to get good rectifications of kind of 20 or 30 higher, and then we want to be able to track that over a period of time and see the sort of general trend. If you started at, let's say, 20 or 30%, and then you're dropping down to 10% and then 5%, you know that whatever you're doing is not working, and you need to mix it up a bit. So I'm just going to go back to the system overview. We've got the navigation again. Here we have some additional modules, which I think I will cover in a different training. We'll probably do this on Thursday. But just briefly, we have 3 different options here. Your dynamic mirroring phase, what this application allows you to do is to toggle your balancing between your top tray and your bottom tray. So in other words, you can have items in both the top tray and the bottom tray, and you want to basically mirror the balancing. So in other words, you want to switch the balancing from the top tray, and then you want it to come down to the bottom tray and kind of backwards and forwards. That's really useful if you have specific items that you've identified that have a very high significance or a kind of high probability. What you do with those is you drag them both to the daily balancing tray as well as down to the main hold tray. And then as the balancing is toggling between the top and the bottom tray, that specific selected item is kind of getting a double dose. Your synergistics, this will allow you to test, for example, supplement compatibility, food sensitivities, etc. By entering the item in here, we have an archetype encoding process where we basically encode whatever it is you type here into an energetic signal. Once you begin with the analysis, the results will give you an indication in terms of where this item is going to have the most impact. What I mean by that is, will it have the most impact in the mind or the body or the spiritual or the energy field? It is not going to tell you whether an item is good for you or whether it is bad for you. It's just going to tell you where it's going to have the most impact. Response assessment. This is a really neat little feature where on any specific selected panel, you can actually run a kind of deeper scan, or you can do a rescan. So as an example, I could be in maybe the liver panel, and I want to know if I was giving a client a homeopathic remedy for liver, as an example. If they were taking that homeopathic remedy, how would my liver results change? And that's what we can do with the response assessment. But as I mentioned, certainly something that we will be covering on Thursday. So those of you that have joined us today, I really hope we'll see you on Thursday, and we'll just keep doing this every Tuesday and every Thursday as well. We have different modules here within the navigation, which we've just gone through. My apologies. Here we have different accessory functions. The first thing is, if you haven't downloaded the 3D animation, this is a free download. It consists of really cool high-end visual graphics. So go ahead and download this, and then each time you play balancing tones, you'll have really cool high-end visual animations. It actually, from a kind of clinical aspect side, it helps the client kind of stimulate their visual healing capabilities as well. The Connect Resonance Go client, that is the mobile application that I mentioned to you. We will be covering that in the not too near distant future as well. We have bug reporting. If you do have any bugs or any crashes, obviously it is mobile applications, it is software. We are still in beta. Certainly not going to guarantee that you will not have any bugs, but if you do have any bugs, please by all means just come here and shoot us an email, send us any description that you may have, and then you can upload a file, be it a short video or a screenshot. That would really be appreciated. Here we have your back office login. If you need to log into your back office as an affiliate, you can certainly do that. And then we have the logout function over here. So let's just go back to the system overview. As you'll see, we've got a few items here from the main hold tray. We haven't really spent too much time delving into too many details, but just as another example, we can go ahead and click on the adrenals. Bear with me. We can go ahead and click in the adrenals. If I can find them again. Okay, well, let's actually focus on the nervous system here as well. So go ahead and click on the nervous system. I want to drill down deeper on the nervous system. I'm going to go ahead and load all insights and do a deeper check. So as you can see, really what you want to do is try to go through all of the items that are in red and access the entangled insights and drill down deeper. Identify the items that are related to the nervous, in this instance, the nervous system. and bring them all down to the main hold tray. As you can see, we've got the items loaded there. All right. And then once we're ready, this is the final balancing that we do. I'm going to go ahead and just bring it down to 1 minute, and I'm going to click start. And as you can see, we are now running a balance. So typically, this is what we are doing at the end of the session. As I alluded to beforehand, we've got the daily balancing tray, we've got the main hold tray, and then we've got the quick balance. The main hold tray is something that you want to do at the end of the session. Once you've collated and you've found all the items that are related to one another and all of those items that form part of the clinical context of the client, you bring all of those into the tray, and then you go ahead and you provide a 1 minute stimulation. Typically, during a session, your main hold tray should be anywhere from kind of 5 to about 9 minutes. It's your sort of final balancing that you want to do with your clients. So we'll just, for argument's sake, I'm just doing this for 1 minute just to try to give you a visual idea in terms of how we actually use this, and then the results, and having a look at the percent rectification. So with that said, I want to open it up to see if anyone has any questions. On the right-hand side, you have a little question option. Please, by all means, go ahead and post any comments. Otherwise, we will be following up with this on Thursday, and we'll be diving into this on a kind of deeper level as well. But today was just to give you a quick little conceptual idea, how to use the Resonance Pro, what the different functions are, how to access the Entangled Insights. On Thursday, we'll go through some of the extra modules, and then kind of dive in a bit deeper. But for those of you with any questions, please, on the right-hand side, now's the time to answer them. If you do not have any questions, great. With a bit of luck, this will be recorded. It should be on our Facebook Live as well as on our YouTube account. So that'll be great. You can always watch this at a later date. And we have a ton of training videos that we have already created. So those training videos can be accessed through our YouTube portal. If you do not have access to that, go ahead and shoot us a quick email, and we'll gladly send you a link to those training emails as well, or those training videos. So once again, I want to thank everyone for their time. Hope you're able to take away some little nuggets of information. And again, reach out to us. Look forward to seeing you on Thursday. Thank you. Bye-bye.